Welcome to Dealer Driven, where the rubber meets the road to success.
Welcome to Dealer Driven. I'm Michael Hayes.
And I'm Cameron Wilson. Today we're talking about something that sits at the center of every vehicle purchase, but doesn't always get the attention it deserves: financial literacy.
Joining us is Celia Winslow, President and CEO of the American Financial Services Association, or AFSA. Celia works closely with lenders, policymakers, and industry leaders, including NADA's public policy team, on issues that shape consumer finance across the country.
Today, she'll share insights on how improving financial understanding can lead to better buying experiences, stronger customer relationships, and long-term loyalty for dealerships.
Let's get started.
Celia, welcome to the show. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you so much for having me on today. I'm thrilled to be able to talk about this.
Wonderful. So I know that NADA and AFSA have worked together for a long time. And as we gear up to April, which is National Financial Literacy Month, can you tell our listeners how AFSA helps consumers and about the work done through the AFSA Education Foundation?
Of course. So the American Financial Services Association has a long 110-year history of protecting and expanding access to credit. Our member companies do this in a few different ways. So first, we educate consumers and future consumers through our Education Foundation, which was founded in 1990, which to, I know, some young people today sounds like a long time ago, but I do not think it was that long ago. And we proudly offer Money Skill, a free personal finance curriculum to schools, other educational institutions, nonprofits, and even businesses. So this curriculum empowers young people, as well as adults, with the knowledge about how to budget, how to save, how to understand credit and credit scores, and even how to finance a vehicle. So I'm going to note here that 3 of the 37 modules in the Money Skill curriculum relate to purchasing and maintaining a vehicle. And we recently introduced 3 new lesson plans to supplement the online content around vehicle purchases. And we're currently working on adding some information about fraud and how to avoid being scammed by nefarious influences on social media. We also empower consumers by ensuring they have access to the credit they need when they need it. We believe in the availability of credit, and that by making consumers more financially capable, their ability to use credit responsibly helps not only them, but also the businesses that depend on credit, like dealers. So in April, we're focusing on ensuring policymakers and consumers alike understand the important role that credit and access to that credit plays in the American economy and for American households.
Terrific. Well, and that's all great. And we're going to get into that a little deeper, I think, too. But so back to the reason that we do this is, how does improving a customer's financial understanding lead to a better buying experience when they go into the dealership and ultimately more trust in the dealership itself?
So here at AFSA, we've long believed that financially capable, knowledgeable borrower is the best customer. So that's why our members end up investing so much of their time and effort in AFSA's Education Foundation. So we've had over 1.5 million Money Skill users enrolled since 2002. The financial education program is used in more than 50% of U.S. counties. And we know through reviews, through studies, and through personal experience that it's working. So, for example, my daughter went through Money Skill last summer and was able to spend significant time during her theology class arguing with her classmates and professor about the definition of interest. Why they were talking about that during theology is a different podcast. So teachers and nonprofit leaders and for-profit leaders can sign up as an instructor at moneyskill.org to receive access to the free curriculum. Or if your listeners want to pass this information along to others, there's an easy-to-use toolkit on the website as well. So getting back more directly to your question, consumers pay attention to businesses that provide truthful, accurate information, and individuals are more likely to return to the businesses that provide that good experience in helping consumers. So that's one of the reasons that AFSA joined NADA years back to create AWARE, which stands for, and this is the best acronym, Americans Well-Informed on Automobile Retailing Economics, and it's located at Auto Financing 101 or via the AFSA website or afsaonline.org. Consumers can find many resources there to help them through the car buying experience. Dealers can also link to the content, and I believe some do. I give to all my friends when they tell me they're shopping for a car, which they greatly appreciate.
Terrific. If I may, real quickly, when you mentioned about interest in theology and how it comes up in that class, I've met a few F&I managers that kind of thought they were God sometimes when they were getting just a reference, just to highlight that. Okay, so
And Celia, before we move on, I just want to confirm that both the Aware and Money Skill, I think you said, are free programs.
Yes.
Yes, so dealers can use either of those for their consumers and even for their team members.
Yes, exactly. So, in fact, one of the things we've been doing over the last few years is to create microsites within the Money Skill curriculum. So, if dealers want to take just a few modules or part of the content, we can work with them to create a microsite that's co-branded with the dealership and has specific information from the program as opposed to the entire 37 module. All the 37 modules. And so that's been very helpful for some of AFSA's members. AFSA represents creditors. So some of them have put those microsites up on there as well, and their consumers have found that very helpful. So we'd be happy to work with dealers on that. For autofinancing101.com, that is very free, open to the public, and anyone is welcome, to link to that. We encourage it. And this year, we're actually looking forward to working with NADA and our members and bringing some new information onto that site. Again, going back to the financial fraud and scams, there's been a lot more of that going around. So hopefully we can continue to educate consumers about what to be wary for there.
That's fantastic. And that leads right into my next question for you. What are the most common financial misunderstandings customers bring into the showroom, and how can dealers help clear them up?
So, of course, it varies by consumer. It depends. But I think a lot of this right now can be exacerbated by or not exacerbated, but exacerbated by different sources, bad advice they're seeing on social media. So here's a hot tip. Do not get your financial advice from AI bots on TikTok. If you
Good advice.
Yes. If you legitimately owe a debt, you cannot get that permanently removed from your credit report. So stop believing what those Instagram influencers are trying to tell you. Claiming you're a sovereign citizen and mailing your hair or blood samples to your creditor is not going to help. I wish I was making that up, but I am not. Filing a false claim on the FTC's website that your identity has been stolen is illegal. Don't do it. But okay, getting off my hobby horse, I think that really the most common financial misunderstanding at the dealership is that the rate the dealer gives you for financing won't be good. I think there's a number of politicians that have spoken to that, as well as a few government agencies in the past. But that's not accurate information. So, for example, when I've gone to the dealership, I have gone to my bank ahead of time. I get a rate for a auto loan from my bank, and then I bring it, and the dealer beats it. And that's not uncommon. I think that's the experience that a lot of people have. And so, misinformation about the rate that the dealer may offer you is harmful. And I think that consumers need to know that there are different options out there, and they should be able to pick from those options. One of the other misunderstandings that people have is that they won't qualify for financing. I don't think many people understand how many different options are out there. So, of course, if your credit score isn't ideal, you might not get the lowest rate possible, but, shop around, and I think that people would be surprised.
terrific. You mentioned some great things. I just kept thinking, I couldn't get out of my head. I was thinking about some TikTok thing like drive luxury at an economy price or something. I don't know how to, I can get that deal. But you've mentioned a few of the practical tools and resources that we can use, dealerships can use to help educate consumers without overwhelming them. And I was on the Aware site last night, but what I didn't look at, and maybe you could help us with this, do you have app-based ones as well, or do those translate well to app-based? You mentioned your daughter, and I think, and I have a daughter, a mid to early 20s daughter too, and it seems like they spend more time on a 3.5-inch screen than anything. So does a lot of the education for resources you talked about, they translate well to phones, or smartphones, for lack of a better term?
So I definitely do not spend a lot of time on my phone, and I'm only on my computer and reading books and watching plays. Definitely not playing stupid games on my phone where I get ads about debt settlement frequently now. uh, that's a work in progress for a lot of our organizations. Certainly, you can access it on the phone, but the idea of translating all of it into an app is a great idea and something we can certainly look at. I know some organizations have done things like that. Money Skill, for example, since it's such a long program, It's set up a little bit differently, but those are things that we are talking about as other ways to reach consumers. And I think that a lot of our members have done those, have done more videos and, kind of included that into included their financial education tools in their apps that they have as well. I want to mention one other organization, jumpstart.org, because they also have several helpful tips. And so they're a personal finance nonprofit. And because it was recently International Women's Day, I'll mention that they have an all-female leadership team. And we partner with them as well as do a number of our creditor members too.
Yeah. Have you seen examples where there are dealers that actually using, say, money skills to help all their salespeople get trained as well ahead of time as far as understanding what consumers are thinking maybe a little bit better?
So that's actually, I was going to bring that up because I think one of the things that we've been thinking about is what are steps that people can take now in real time, easily to help spread financial education. And so a few years ago, I was on a webinar for one of our members, a large finance company, had interns. And as part of their internship program, they had AFSA give an update on what's going on here in Washington, D.C. And so I started talking about it and I was saying, well, there's various laws that members of Congress are looking to change. There's the Fair Credit Reporting Act and there's the Truth in Lending Act. And, this committee wants to change this and this politician wants to change that. And I kind of look at the screen and I see all these blank faces staring back at me. So I thought I'd been doing a great job because I didn't say TILA, I didn't say FICRA, I used the full name of the legislation. And I looked back and I said, okay, I'm going to take a step back for a minute. Do you guys know what a credit report is? And these are students that are doing extremely well at prestigious universities, and they have this prestigious internship at a well-known finance company, and they kind of look back and say, no, I don't know what you're talking about. So I think that the number one thing, as you said, that dealers can do right now is to go back to their employees and make sure they understand and they have the tools that they need. So we'd love to work with them on Money Scale. Again, free, online, easy to use. You can kind of break it up. I know I said there are 37 modules, but the way my daughter did it was if she did, an hour of Money Scale, then she spent another 4 hours watching TV. So, reading.
It's a good balance.
You can break it up. You can do a little during your lunch break, but it really teaches all of those basics and a little more than the basics as well. Some of the math questions in there about calculating APR, definitely had to use a calculator for. But I think that if dealers look back, I'm sure their F&I guys all know what a credit report is, but does everyone do all their mechanics know? Do their cleaning staff, for example, know? Does the guy that's painting in the dealership, do they know? And the other thing that I think dealers, are well respected in their communities, they're leaders, they're often asked to speak at different events. The more that they can just mention financial education, I think is helpful to spread that message. And dealers are often very well connected politically. And there's been an effort both in states and also within school systems and nationally to mandate financial education. And so dealers promoting that and making sure that high schools are teaching financial education is another powerful tool that I think the dealers could do.
That's a great segue. And Celia, how do you think supporting financial literacy improves a dealership's long-term customer loyalty and retention?
When customers are happy with the car buying experience, where they understand, why they got what rate they got, that they shopped around and they know they got the best rate, I think that creates a positive experience. And as the dealers know, when a customer has a positive experience at that dealership, that's where they're going to go back. When they feel that the dealer treated them well and that they got the car they love at a price they can afford, that's going to help them, that's going to help bring back return borrowers. And when customers are financially capable, that's the kind of experience that they're going to have.
As financing becomes more complex, we've had interest rates are higher than they were for the 10 years before, obviously. But the thing that concerns us a lot, obviously, is longer terms, new products. things like that. How should dealers evolve their approach to financial education on the longer term thing? I just was looking at a TransUnion report last night actually, and it was 67% in the fourth quarter of all contracts were for 72 months or more, which is a long time, So, how do we dealers evolve their approach to financial education of customers to get them to think about is that the right thing to do to go this? And 22% of those were over 84 months or more. So it's pretty amazing. So how should dealers evolve their approach to this education because of the long term and the high payments?
So I'm going to match your numbers with some of my own numbers. So the National Financial Educators Council every year asks U.S. adults a simple question. How much did you lose this year due to lack of financial knowledge? So a total of 1,200 people responded to the survey between December 24th and December 28th of 2025. And the estimated average amount that people thought that lacking knowledge cost them was about $948 in 2025. So if we generalize those results to represent all the approximately 206 million adults who live in the US, lack of financial literacy could cost Americans a total of more than 246 billion in 2025.
It's a lot of money.
Yes. So I think when people know what they're getting, they can have a better idea. So you're talking about the longer terms. And certainly you're over time with a longer term, you are spending more money, but you have a cheaper payment per month. So that's when consumers are financially capable, they can understand that, okay, let me look at the whole financial picture. Do I have the amount of money to make the higher payment every month in order to pay less overall? Or do I not? Do I need that immediate cash for whatever it is, the new baby that they're having, or taking care of an elderly parent? What do they need each month? And so sometimes that they may make that decision that, okay, what I'd rather have is pay more over time and have a more manageable payment each month. I will quibble a little bit. I wouldn't say that vehicle financing necessarily has become more complex. An auto loan is still a pretty plain vanilla loan. It's easy to understand. There's a set amount each month, unlike, say, revolving credit, where, the math might be a little more complicated because you're saying, okay, if I add the interest to this product and, it compounds over time, but each month with an auto loan, the payment is the same. You make every payment. By the end of that term, it's paid off. But as you say, we are talking about some longer terms. And so that is definitely something that we want to make sure consumers are educated about and that they understand. We found over time that when consumers don't always pay attention to things like what's the interest rate or what's the APR. They're looking at that monthly payment, but an educated, financially capable borrower can understand how those two relate. And that's really our goal. And so I think one of the things the dealers can do is to make sure, as we talked about before, that that they're steering their customers to various different resources. So, for example, several years back, NADA, the Federal Trade Commission, and the AFSA Education Foundation developed an understanding vehicle financing brochure to help consumers know what to expect during the car buying experience. And I believe the dealers have really put that out there. It's a valuable resource to help walk new car buyers through the important steps of preparing to purchase the car. I think NADA also created a Know Before You Buy brochure and is working on another resource that should come out during Financial Literacy Month. And so that will also have some key verbiage, easy to understand verbiage. So the more that the dealers put those resources out there, I think that the more consumers can understand, the choices that they're given and make the right choice for them.
Sure. If I may then quickly, Celia, talking about the long-term stuff, and I haven't done money skills, so I haven't been through the modules and stuff. Is there some modules in there that talk about leasing as an alternative to long-term financing in cases?
Yes, there is leasing in there as well. And the other resources that I've listed also talk about leasing. And I think I'm glad you mentioned that because going back to one of your previous questions, you had said something about what's some misunderstanding. And I think there is a lot of misunderstanding around leasing. That leasing is only for a certain kind of consumer, or some people think just leasing overall is bad. And I think as we're, in a different interest rate environment over the last few years than we were prior to the pandemic, leasing has a lot of attractive options for consumers. And so I think it's gotten more attention, and it's good that consumers can understand I could lease, I could, have a car term, auto finance contract or auto loan at 5 years, at 7 years. And here are all the different options. And here's what they mean for me. Because, leasing, there have been some great deals out there recently.
Absolutely. So I just wanted to mention to all our listeners, we'll link all of the great stuff that we've been talking about today in the show notes so that you can access it. And Celia, before we go, what's one thing a dealership could start doing this month to improve financial literacy for both their customers and staff?
I think that the one thing that the dealer could do is to ask their staff, do you understand what a credit report is? And if the answer is no, provide some education, because I think that if people know and understand that whether or not they're paying their loan on time has an effect on the cost of their credit going forward is an important tool. And it's surprising how many people don't understand that link and that information is being tracked. But actually, okay, you said one thing, but I'm going to say two. The other one is please, please, please don't get your financial advice from random internet influencers. There's a lot of bad information going on, and it's just increasing. And whether that's what we're talking about, things that have to do with credit, like, again, mailing your blood into your lender, that is not an efficient way to deal with what may be a lower credit score. But there's also, of course, as we've heard, all the scams that are going around where, AI voices call you and say, oh, hey, this is, your child. I've been kidnapped. Quickly wire money to this account. Chances are that those are a scam. And so the more people know about those scams out there and the more that they can warn their friends and family, the lesser chance those have of happening. So I'll take two.
That was great. Absolutely. The other thing I think I would add to that would be if I ask the average salesperson, do you know what a credit report is? They will say, sure thing. It's what determines if I make a deal or not. But I think what it would be is the fact that, and you kind of highlighted it with the second part of your answer, is do they really know what makes a good credit report and what makes a more edgy credit report, so that they can help people really truly be, as you said, educators, to be able to help them understand, why is my credit score a 600 and how does that affect my interest rate? And what can I do to improve that over the next year? So again, I think extending that beyond just knowing what it is, as you said earlier, what affects all the things and how important is that to you as a customer? The next time you come in here, you got a 720, and what's that make a difference between your 600 you have now? So yeah, I think that's a great. Thank you very much for that.
Right. That's a good point, because it's not just about credit. Often employers will check your credit report so it can have an effect on whether or not you get a job.
Mm-hmm.
Insurers will as well. So the price of your car insurance can go into that. Same with renting. A lot of rental companies will pull your credit as well.
Absolutely. Well, Celia, thank you so much for your insights today. It has been great having you on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to talk about this with you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have for this episode. A huge thank you again to our guest, Celia Winslow, for joining us. If you're enjoying the show, leave us a rating or a review and tell a friend. Once again, I'm Michael Hayes.
And I'm Cameron Wilson. This has been Dealer Driven from NADA. Keep your dealership in drive, and we'll see you next time.